Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. This is the third episode of HN Summit Series. Thank you so much for joining us today. In the past episodes, we talk about what is the role of the PMS in the tech stack. We talk a little about the guest experience. Today, we're going to focus on upselling as a competitive advantage. And we got 1 hour to deep dive into the very interesting topic with three amazing speakers here with me today. So we got Jason from Nor1, we got Sarah from Barcelona Hotels, and then of course we got Mark. We've done a couple of these in the past. Before I let you introduce you guys, I want to start with Mark's word because again, I think you were really on the spot when you first started talking about ancillary revenue, and you said something in the line, and I could misquote you. Also, like if I'm wrong, just step in. But you said something such as there's no such thing as ancillary revenue. If it's actually part of your revenue, that's basically revenue, right? And that really resonates with me because especially pre-COVID, I think most revenue managers were very focused on selling rooms, and everything that was coming on top of that was just an additional benefit. And we all know that things changed quite dramatically after COVID, and maybe we're entering a new era of doing revenue management and selling rooms. Some call it total revenue management. Again, I like to call it common sense because again, if you got something to sell, I don't see why you shouldn't sell it. But this is why we're here for today. So, Jason, thank you so much for being with us today. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little more about what you do?
Of course. So Jason Bryant, I'm the vice president of Nor1, which was acquired by Oracle Hospitality. I'm the founder of Nor1. I continue to manage Nor1 towards this vision, which is helping hoteliers generate as much revenue as possible from the time of booking throughout the reservation life cycle through check-in.
That's great. When was that founded, Nor1?
I guess when we originally founded the company, I think there was 4 or 5 of us located across the United States. Ultimately, we decided on Silicon Valley, just for the types of talent that we needed for the vision that we had. So our offices were in Santa Clara.
That makes total sense. And Sarah, thank you so much. I think you are in the best position today because Jason and Mark, they are on Vegas right now. It's very early for them, so they're drinking coffee. It's not alcohol yet. Sarah, you're in the beautiful Mallorca, right?
Yes, thank you very much. Well, I'm Sarah Ramis, the CMO of the Barcelona Hotel Group. And yes, in Mallorca here, we are located a big international hotel chain. So apart from being a paradise, it's a very interesting place, not for the tourism business. Well, I would want to say just a few words about the Barcelona Hotel Group. We are a family-owned company founded in Mallorca 90 years ago by the Barcelona.
90?
Yes, 90.
Wow.
And today we are managing more than 270 hotels around the world in 24 countries, 4 and 5-star hotels and resorts in the Caribbean, beautiful resorts in the Caribbean. And we are really happy because we just received twice the best management company in the world at the World Travel Awards, the award. So we are really happy for that. And I wanted to share it with you because I'm very happy.
Congrats. That's a great achievement. And Mark, can you tell us a little more about yourself?
Yes, morning all from Las Vegas. My name is Mark Fancourt. I'm from Travatech. We're a consultancy that focuses on hospitality and travel technology, and sometimes we're working with the operator community and sometimes we're working with the technology vendor community, just depending on the engagement.
That's great. Okay, guys, we got 60 minutes to go. Again, very hot topic, so I'm sure you got some very strong opinion about that. Let's start with question number 1. This is something that I said at the beginning as well. I think most hotels or accommodation providers in general, they have some issues with selling the inventory beyond rooms, right? It's our industry has been very room focused for so long, And on top of that, it's very hard to consolidate the buying experience. And this is something, Jason, you were telling me before. I think that was the main reason why you co-founded Nor One, right? So, Jason, I would start with you, if you like. And do you think this is more a technical problem, or do you think it's more like a cultural problem?
Well, clearly, I mean, clearly both, technology and culture are sort of jointly combined are I would say the necessary ingredients for success. And I think actually the relationship we have with Barcelona Hotels is a really good example of that. What we bring to the table is the tech, sort of especially now that we're integrated into the PMS, the underlying sort of decision science that we're utilizing. I mean, it's state of the art technology, right? Things that still most organizations are not doing. Real time offers and real time pricing for each and every individual guest. But then that's useless if you don't actually have that you're not empowering a team, right? A team that has a culture around this and understands that technology is nothing more than a tool, right? It's a tool that they need to use to sort of to integrate into their overall philosophy of how to upsell and how to serve the guest. And again, Sarah's team does an awesome job at that.
So let me ask you like a chicken or egg kind of question. Do you think it all starts, because I know they are pretty much intertwined, but you think it all starts with the culture and the hotel and then the tech? Or do you think that to a certain extent, tech can also open possibilities that you were not seeing before?
Yeah, I mean, the things that the tech does, at least our tech does, it allows an automation to, let's say, the pricing and the merchandising. I mean, that's why we have patents on that sort of unique combination of doing that at the same time, right? I mean, we can identify an individual guest, and let's say there's preferences, and then generate live a real-time offer, things that a human just can't possibly do. The sort of the literally millions of permeations of types of offers and prices and all those kind of things. So again, that, like I said, those are things that without technology you would never be able to do. But again, let's say that we're talking about what one of our products, it empowers the front desk agent, right? So it's giving them that offer, it's giving them exactly this precision on what to offer this guest, but still there needs to be that guest service delivery component of interacting with the guest. And again, that's what we're doing, is allowing that person to really focus on the guest and on guest service.
Okay, that's very interesting, because there's always this narrative that I don't fully believe that technology is somehow neutral, and I don't think it's essentially true. Because to a certain extent, implementing some kind of technology can also make you think or rethink your place in the company, or what you can or cannot do, or maybe understanding you can do things differently. So that's a very interesting angle. Sarah, you told me something about 90 years of history of the group. Okay, family run business that has been running for almost a century now. And how, like, especially now, how can you turn a business from a mom and pop business to like this huge collection that you have right now?
Well, despite being one important chain in the world, I think our essence is that we continue to operate as a family business, and this is part of our identity. And we want to keep on maintaining this family spirit, no, and participating, exclusively in a more sustainable and responsible tourism. We are in the leisure business. You were talking before about only selling rooms, but we have been for more than 90 years selling pools, experiences, because we are a leisure company, no? And this is our business, no, our core business. And when we open a resort in the Caribbean, for example, we contribute to the development, also to the local economy. We work with local artists. Our clients and our people are our family. So this is our essence, no? I was explaining it before. And additionally, when we manage a hotel, or when a hotel new comes to the company, we treat it is as if it were our own hotel. So I think we feel and act like if we were the owners. And this is a very important value, no, that differentiates us from other and bigger chains. And I think it is something that helps us to grow, no, in long-term relationships with individual owners, with funds, with whoever, no. So this is what owners say about us. It is not my opinion. They tell us that we feel like if we were the owners, so they are really comfortable with us. And I think this is one of the most important reasons of our growth.
So it's basically like scaling a family.
Yes, yes.
How many properties do you guys have right now?
270.
Wow. Okay.
Well, the number changes.
Yeah.
Because
Right
we
now
are
it's at the end of
expanding.
the webinar. They could be 218. So okay.
I hope so. I hope so.
Okay, that makes total sense. Interesting. Mark, let me ask you something. Once we were talking, and you told me something interesting. And you said something, and again, I could be misquoting you, but you said that the next generation of revenue managers will likely be experienced managers. Now, I think that the experience word is very often misused in our industry, like in any industry. Can you tell us a little more? First of all, tell me if I quoted you correctly, and second of all, can you elaborate a little on this?
Yeah, I think you're right about the term experience, but it's hard to find another word. You know, I often look for another word, but there isn't one. But yeah, I think, going back to some of the things that we've already talked about, we've had this prevalence as an industry to be very rooms focused, and of course, in Sarah's particular case, that's not satisfactory, right? They have lots of different assets that they have to bring to life, and certainly going back to Sarah's point about their ownership relationships, owners build hotels with facilities for them to be sold, and which goes back to my comment about ancillary revenue. If it's being built, when the prospectus is done to build or run a hotel, it's built on selling the products that are available to sell, and it's expected that you will. So that's sort of where that comment comes from. But no, I think, and Sarah probably has an interesting take on this, because I think that the resort community generally has to have a better grasp on this, because capture rate is extremely important to the overall value of their business. So when I say the future of revenue management is experience management, it's the combination of a basket of products and services to sell, and making sure that you maximize the available products and services into the time that the customer has. So if you can imagine sitting in front of someone's schedule for 4 days when they might be staying at the hotel and saying, well, we could put this in here, and we could put that in there, and we could put this in here. And that will become both a passive and an active activity in the pursuit of a better customer experience, but also a better overall utilization of the assets that the property has to sell, as compared to additional things on top of that. So when I talk about products, I talk about room products, dining products, lifestyle products, event products, and of course we do some retail, but our retail component as an industry is small compared to the other things where the major cost of building the asset is sunk. So that's what I mean by that statement, Simone.
Let me ask you something. That's an interesting angle. But don't you think, first of all, again, I think we all agree that the experience word is often, overused. And again, I agree with you that I cannot find a better word myself. The problem is, don't you think that while we are trying to re-explain what a revenue manager should do, okay? And again, I really agree with the way you put it. Basically, the problem is that before we didn't really understand what a revenue manager position basically was. Like if I have to redefine something, and I have to redefine it to the extent that I have to come up with a new name. And again, it could be experience manager, but it could be even total revenue management, revenue per square meter, whatever. Like if we have to redefine something, don't you think that that something was wrong from day one? And that is, again, being too much room centric when it comes to revenue management.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, I think it's historic, to be honest. Yeah, and again, if you look at in fairness to industry, if you look at the split of, say, a Barcelo type product, I beg your pardon, say a Barthelo type product, and the industry that is rooms oriented, there's a very big sway to rooms only properties. So part of that makes sense, and I think the other side of it too, Simona, having started in revenue management technology a long time ago, was that the technology emerged, and before that, I would argue that we didn't really have revenue managers. Certainly in my lifetime, in working operationally at both property and brand level, revenue managers are a more recent phenomenon for the industry, and I sense that a lot of that did tend to come with the introduction of technology, regardless of whether a particular business deployed the technology or not.
Okay, makes sense.
Actually, just real quick, the way I see it is by, I'll speak to it if we kind of separate into tactics and strategy, right? And so whatever the role of this person, whatever we title them, revenue manager or experience manager, what I think has to be achieved, right? And this is where technology plays, I think, a significant role is, in the past, all of that, the tactics, the strategy, there was one human being that was actually responsible for that. And the majority of their time was around, say, even today, a lot of revenue managers are spending a lot of their time just collecting information, aggregating information, doing these things that are really tedious and really time consuming. And then a very small fraction of their time is actually on strategy and actually serving the guest. And so like what I see going forward in the future, at least with the way that we approach the business, is the tactical part of all that. That's what we do. That's what the technology does. It real time assimilates all this information, real time looks at inventory, real time assesses the buyer behavior dynamics or dimensions of this particular guest, prices, and makes an offer. What the human needs to focus on is what the computer is not very good at, which is strategy, right? Like how do you, and so what we're doing is freeing up time for this person, if we're going to call them the revenue manager, that makes sense, freeing up time for them so they focus on loyalty levels or days of the week, all these different things, right? That allow them to actually create a better experience, for the individual guests, and not so much time on data collection and the actual pricing, all those types of things, which again, the computer is inherently better at.
That makes total sense. And look, Jason, just I want to stay with you for the next question because it's connected to this one. Do you think that, I cannot avoid asking you this after this, I call them the annis horribilis, just terrible 2 years, 2020 and 21. Do you think that in a way, this experience we all went through changed the revenue management paradigm for the best? Or do you think that we will go back to do things exactly like we used to do before the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess if you measure that based on occupancy and ADR and things, those things all have certainly recovered and are continuing to be strong. I would say institutionally, like the way the industry works, we've seen a lot of changes. So we certainly have seen where the revenue manager's job has evolved. The biggest issue, that not a shock to anybody, is just the labor shortage and the impact that's having. And the way that we're looking at it now and continuing to evolve our product is that's not a short-term condition that was created by the pandemic, and there's going to be recovery from it. We believe the labor force, it has changed, and we need to accommodate that, right? Like with additional automation and again, just some different ways that our product works. But so yeah, clearly there's an evolution occurring. Is it better or worse? I think that's what we humans do. We're pretty good and pretty smart about whatever the dynamics are, whatever the evolution is taking that and then strategically determining how do we leverage that to our best advantage, right? To generating revenue, to continuing to serve guests and be competitively superior, right?
My 2 cents is that, when it comes to hospitality, like travel in general, but hospitality, is that we got this bias that we think that it's a human-centric industry, and it is. It's a high touch, probably the most high touch industry there is. But what we often forget is that we are a tech centric industry as well. We need a lot of software to operate, right? And I think what the pandemic did was to show that some of what I call the logistics of travel, you were talking about tedious, repetitive tasks, can and should, in my opinion, be automated, right? So that you can free up time, first of all, because, yeah, labor shortage is a problem in the US. I was reading this article that like 25% of people that lost their job after the pandemic in the hospitality, they don't want to go back to the hospitality, right? It's a scary thing. We're seeing the same thing in Europe. And so automation to a certain extent can reduce the need of human staff, but on top of that can free up human staff so that they can actually do what humans do best. And I think you're totally right here, right? And Sarah, so I'm going to go and ask you this because again, you work on a more resort kind of property where you got several different outlets of revenue streams, and the just making sure that everything is super connected is super important. So how do you feel about that?
Oh, it's an interesting question. First of all, I would say that we use a concept that we call it human touch technology.
Okay. Wow. We need to
Because,
copyright this.
oh, no, it's mine. Sorry. But it is very important because, as you said before, we are an industry that works with people for people. We make happy our guests. When a person of our team smiles, this is the best ancillary you can offer to your guests, no? So I think if we combine the human first and then the technology, it's a success, and we have seen it with Norwan. No, I started working with Jason when he was just Norwan, and I think one of the the most interesting parts of our project is to develop a pioneer ancillary platform from the leisure business, because everything or lots of things are done for the city and business hotels. Why? Because the biggest companies in the world are in the US. I'm talking more than 6,000 hotels, and also in China. But all the technology for the leisure was not that really developed and implemented. And Jason corrects me if I'm not right, no? And I think one of the most interesting parts of our project, as I said before, was to implement an ancillaries platform in the leisure resorts, in the leisure. Why? Because technology was not that well developed for us. So we had to make some changes in the technology, Jason. Do you remember? But we did it, and the success is incredible because, in a city hotels, and of course we have city hotels too. So, but in a city hotel, a person stays 1 day, 1.5 days maximum. But when you go on holidays or vacations, as the Americans, you say that, you spend more than 7 nights with your family. Is one of the most important holidays in the year. So it's a perfect occasion to increase the ADR and to increase also our guest satisfaction by offering different experiences in our hotels. And the technology has to be ready for that, no? And I think it's fantastic to be a pioneer in this part of the ancillaries project. And well, we are on it. We are on it. We haven't finished, and I hope we will be working together for lots of years. No. And talking about the revenue manager, Simon, we our platform, we call it the Barcelona Experience platform, our ancillary platform. So maybe this gives you an idea, and I'm totally agree with Jason and Mark with their opinions. So yes, it's an interesting world right now.
And I think you said something very, very that resonates with me, and that is the fact that when we look at upselling, cross-selling, ancillary revenue in general, we tend to focus on the the extra profit, the extra revenue, but we don't focus too much on the fact that we are giving like an extra value to the guest experience, right? The guest experience is actually better, and again, I see that this is even to people that are quite aware of the fact that selling rooms is selling only rooms, that is not the way to go. I still see that they're only thinking in terms of incremented revenue, and not in terms of better guest experience, that create this circle where you can have like better reviews, better reputation, and of course more revenue is a result of that. But I'm not even sure that's the end game. It's a part. It's a great bonus, of course. But making guests happy is basically what we do. And basically, if I understood correctly, that's Barcelona philosophy, right? So
Yes, in our company, guest satisfaction is long-term revenue. Uh, what can I say? No, you can increase your ADR, but if you don't increase your guest satisfaction, you lose the
yeah,
game.
yeah, totally. Yeah, but
I mean, that's
bizarre.
exactly how we see it, and I think that's why Sarah and I are always aligned. Is, I mean, our ultimate objective, and it's for profit motive, right? I mean, it's to generate revenue. But what we both accept and are aligned on is the way to do that is by serving the guest and by satisfying the guest, near term and long term, right? If you want to call it loyalty or whatever you want to call it, but right, it's like making sure that they have a great stay. And the way that we measure it is that by the types of offers we put in front of them, and do they accept those offers, and then again, then constantly looking for feedback from the guests or from the agents or the property people on how to better make those offers. So I think the two are definitely related, is the guest experience as well as the revenue.
Totally. And Jason, just tell us more about Nord One, because like you're what I'm sure most viewers are familiar with Nord One, but just try to explain to somebody that never heard of it before.
Sure. So I think back to revenue. Let's say that I would say the reason Nord One exists is because of the amount of demand, which we've measured, amount of demand there is for additional spend. Right. So we've measured it at about $30 per reservation. And what that means is it's unconstrained demand, right? It's like the guests are willing, and if you have a hotel and take your number of reservations, multiply that by 30, that's the amount of, let's say, the bucket of money that's sitting out there. That's what we help hoteliers do. How do you recognize or realize as much of that demand as possible? And then from there, what we do is, we have some different ways to uniquely, let's say, merchandise, room inventory, and ways that the way that the buying process works. But essentially, what I would say let's say secrets to our success and why we generate more revenue than in any other facility, any other manual system or competitive service is, one, we service or we engage 100% of the guests across the reservation lifecycle. We're touching the guest right at booking, through a confirmation email, pre-arrival email, and then all the way directly to right at check-in, whether it's through an e-check-in and we inject our intelligence into that, or whether it's at the front desk and that we have a solution where we're empowering that agent to make this intelligent offer and intelligent communication with the with the guests. And then how we do that is what we realized early on was we were getting some of our early clients were big global chains. We were getting tons of data. And we realized that the industry didn't do a great job with, say, leveraging that data to make smarter, more intelligent offers. We then went out and ultimately decided we needed to hire PhD level statisticians and mathematicians in order to how do we make sense out of this data? How do we leverage that data in order to make more accurate offers that generate more revenue and obviously create greater satisfaction? So that's, like, in a nutshell, that's what Nora1 does. Helps hoteliers generate as much revenue as possible from booking all the way through check-in.
Okay, that's very interesting. Mark, I have one for you because Jason, you said something that I think, again, it's under discussed when we talk about tech and in the hospitality space, and that is the fact that tech can get to a certain level, but that you need to have humans either understanding the data, and that is exactly what you were saying about the difference between tactical and strategical revenue management, and do something with this data, right? Otherwise, they're just data. So, Mark, this is for you. I always think that even in a high-touch industry like ours, it's never tech versus human, and I think that's it's a false narrative, but it's always tech plus humans. And so, what do you think, if any, role does the human team play when it comes to implementing tech, especially when it comes to implementing upselling software?
Well, look, I think there's two answers to this, Simona, because we still have our offline world, and I think one of the challenges that our industry's always had is salesmanship in what we would traditionally have called the reservations function, right? And I'm sure all of us who've been in the industry have struggled with that over the years, because often that's not necessarily where the greatest salespeople end up in our industry, even though they probably should, right? And but so that is sort of one of the core challenges. But ultimately, whether it be at the point of reservation or on property, and I think it goes further than that. It's not just about check-in. It's certainly when I'm working with my clients, I'm working with them from the perspective of total commerce and looking right across the business, because in the ideal world, everyone should be able to sell everything from anywhere, what I call a point of service model, right? So that's a very important skill for our industry, and I think we all try, but I think we probably don't do as good a job at it as an industry as we need to, because it's of course directly linked to the sales of what is almost 100% perishable inventory. Now, as far as technology is concerned, and whether it's Nora1 and an upselling or technology in general, the singular goal of technology is to augment human capability. Let technology do the things that people can do, but can't do effectively. And we talked about this earlier. Let's think about the earlier days of revenue management pre-technical assistance. Well, no human can crunch the range of data that is necessary to price across a booking horizon for one product, one room type, one length of stay, let alone all of them, plus all the products and services that are available. So if anything, the technology gives us more time to spend on improving the salesmanship skills of the people that are actually doing the selling. Now, on the digital side of it, that's different, because that's right in front of the customer, and we're not really part of that process, unless you have some sort of a way of chiming in on their digital booking journey from the human perspective. But that's obviously where products like Nora1 come into play, because you're pushing the digital sales experience versus the human one.
I think, Mark, to your point is so when I think about one of the, I would say, a benefit that Nora1 creates that's not sometimes obvious, it's coherency, right? Coherency in the communication and the consistency with the offers to the guest. So think about it. No matter how sophisticated let's say your at booking offers are, if you don't then connect the dots or that intelligence about that given guest, when you get to the front desk, well, you've lost that opportunity, like, right, to leverage what you may know about that guest. So for those clients that use the normal platform, right, it's like the moment we start engaging that guest right at booking, we start collecting that information. And then as we go throughout the reservation life cycle, each successive time we may interact with that guest, again, we have coherency. We know what we've already offered them. We know what price points we've offered it. And we leverage that or use that in order to, again, to evolve the offer, right? If I've already made an offer for a particular room category at a particular price, well, clearly what I don't, and they didn't accept it, yep, I probably want to take that into consideration, right? To make sure that, again, they have coherency. And without technology, that's very difficult to do, right? In our world now. And so you end up getting these, to your point, is that you have to have really good salespeople at all these different points, at reservation, then your e-commerce team, and then your front desk team. It's just, without technology, it's impossible to like connect the dots between all of those different touch points.
So can I add something? And I don't want to be too philosophical here, but the thing is, again, I think it comes down to a bias that we have when it comes to technology, because we look at tech and we often think that technology is diminishing as humans, while very often it's the other way around. And Plato once wrote, and he was talking about the invention of writing, right? He said, look, this is going to be great for for future generation, but this is going to create a problem because we will lose the ability to remember things. And this was Plato. This is like not a new problem, right? And there was all this extensive study. I don't know if it's very fascinating, about taxi drivers in London before and after the introduction of the GPS. Like, a part of the brain completely changed. But that doesn't make us less humans. I think it makes us, if anything, more human, because we can actually focus on what is really important. And we're not, again, I started in '99, and revenue managers at the time, they were data crunching on Excel files like crazy, and it made no sense. And there was no added value just to crunch numbers like that. So that's very interesting. But Jason, while Sarah recovers, do you think that this is again? Do you think it's to a certain extent? Do you think it's part of the human nature to be so skeptical when it comes to tech?
Yeah, I mean, I think historically, if you look, you kind of look at sort of innovation in the various technical revolutions, right? The industrial revolutions that have occurred go all the way back to the early 1900s, when the very first sort of like steam-based facilities were created. People had the exact same concerns then, right? The big issue then, and I hear this even now, which is, hey, this technology is going to actually cost jobs. This technology is going to, it's going to impact our economies because it's going to put a lot of people out of work. And actually, what we've seen, and if you look historically, statistically, across that entire time span, 200 years, yes, jobs change for sure. And that will continue to be the evolution. Like we're talking right now, the role of a revenue manager will change. What I have absolute confidence in is the number of jobs actually will increase. And I think that's exactly the same with like these newer machine learning technologies, automated technologies. We as humans will again continue to find ways to leverage it where there are new roles, new things for people to do. And we're already seeing it in our world, right? Like new roles and new responsibilities that are necessary given the type of technology that we're bringing to the market.
Look, I'd have to just add that if we don't change our industry and the way that we engage our employees, then we won't have any employees, and we will be, a term I often use, dormitory managers. So the reason why a lot of people don't want to come back to the hospitality industry is because if you look at job development, job growth, job roles, and the level of touch that younger people expect to have in any work that they do today, we're just not delivering it. And a lot of that has been a combination of our traditions in our approach to what job roles look like, and also the demarcation of technology, which has had a big part to play in determining what a job function looks like. So one of the things I always talk about is, well, what does sales mean in our modern industry? And this is a great platform for that discussion. Sales does not mean rooms. Sales means all products and services. Well, is that how we structure our transactional salespeople? No, we split them into multiple departments, and we have multiple sets of inventories, and so all of these things give us the opportunity to make a shift and make more compelling jobs, which will bring people back to the industry. And the second point I would make, Simone, is that, there's never been, there's been fantastic technology available for our industry for a very long time. And you can run hospitality operations today far more effectively than at any point in time and deliver a far better customer experience, both from a product and a service perspective, if you're willing to embrace technology. That is the leverage point that gives you that capability. It's got nothing to do with 3 and 4 and 5-star hotels. It's got to do with aptitude and attitude. And certainly in my own professional career, I've seen how great technology drives customer satisfaction. It's direct correlation, with the better technically enabled a hotel, usually the better the customer satisfaction scores are. And that doesn't mean that the staff went away. It just means the staff are just so much better at delivering product and service experiences.
But by the way, I think that Sarah's team has been awesome, right? I mean, if you ever hear, and Sarah and I early on, when we first started, sort of again having philosophical conversations about what we're trying to achieve, is like, if you ever hear a software that says, "We set it and forget it," like that's not what you want. That is not at all what you want, right? Because what you for sure are gonna have is the same, let's say, for something as simple as making offers, you're gonna have the exact same offer going to like this shotgun approach to guests across basically forever. And so, Sarah, I think, your team has always been really good about like, how do we engage? How do you train your teams? The commitment that you've made with your teams is actually what makes our technology successful. So again, I've greatly appreciated that.
With your team too, Jason.
But again, back to the main point, it's never tech versus humans. And until we change that, I think we'll always be biased. And again, I always make this comparison. You don't go to an airport 4 hours before your flight because you want the human touch of the guy or the girl just giving you the tickets, right? And this is something that probably we should, in a way, understand that this is also happening in our industry. Just making a copy of passport has no value for the guest, but having a receptionist that can actually talk because he or she has the time to talk to guests, that's amazing, And unfortunately, that is. And I agree with Mark 100% here. This is why people, they don't want to go back to the hospitality space, because hospitality used to mean, soft skills. You take care of guests, you got empathy, and you're good with people. Now hospitality is, you need to be good at Microsoft Excel. You need to know 5 PMSs, 4 channel managers, and how to manually charge a credit card. Doesn't make any sense to me. So this is a very to me it's like a super paradox. So Sarah, welcome back. Okay, I have a question for you. No problem at all. So what is in your experience? Talking about Barcelona right now, or previous experience that you've had, what is the main benefit or benefits of automating upselling and cross-selling?
Well, first of all, I would say that people can focus in the things that add value, in the projects that add value. As Mark and Jason said before, so for me, this is the most important point. Apart from that, I don't know, Jason, if you can add, because for me, this is the most important one, it has to help you to do what you want and to focus in the important things, no?
So it basically frees you up. That's it, right?
Yes.
Jason, do you agree with the statement?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, right, like every business, your success is based on your ability to deliver on your strategic objective, right? And that's what we do, right? We help hoteliers deliver on those strategic objectives. I think when you get off into some fringe areas, that's where you sometimes get lost, right? And so via automation. I think that was your question, right? Via automation, what we allow is we create an environment where they can generate more revenue. Which obviously is usually a top line strategic objective. Two is, as we've already said, the approach that we take also engenders greater guest satisfaction. Usually that's an objective like of a hospitality organization. And again, we're achieving it through, again, automated pricing, automated offer provision. So again, that those humans can serve the guests and focus on service delivery. So again, those strategic objectives are achieved. So I'd say absolutely the automation, is a catalyst to achieving those objectives.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, this is an open question, guys. So you just feel free to jump in as to no one specifically. How do you think? And sorry, you can answer from a more like operational point of view, Mark, maybe from a consultancy point of view, and Jason from a tech point of view. But how the revenue coming from what we call ancillary revenue, upselling, cross-selling, whatever, and room revenue, how they integrate with each other in terms of like, do they share the same KPIs? It's always the same people looking at this data. Are there, like, even more important, are there KPIs when it comes to ancillary revenue as like we do have when it comes to room revenue and so forth? So are two different planets, or do you think that little by little we're finally understanding we're just selling stuff here? Who wants to take this one?
I can answer. Go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
No, I was going to say ladies first. So.
Okay.
if you want, sorry.
I'm the only one. Sorry, I'm the only one. Well, if you want, thank you. Well, we don't separate rooms with other services, Simon, as I said before. So our KPIs, our ancillary strategy, they are integrated with the rooms, with the pool service, with the restaurants, with the kids club, because we come from another business, no? And as I said before, the success means a lot of integration too, because when you can measure the results and when you can follow every week, as no one does, the KPIs, the people gets more involved, and also the guest satisfaction increases, and it's it's the perfect success, no?
Yeah, totally. Mark, from your point of view, from a consultancy point of view, do you see that your clients they share KPIs? They have different KPIs. How do they treat that?
Yeah, it probably depends on the maturity of the different businesses, Simone, I think. But if I'd sort of take a bigger picture of my own career, we have really sort of 5 major pillars in our industry where we have product, right? We have room product, we have dining product, we have lifestyle product, which is everything that isn't one of the everything from the spa or sporting through to courses and activities. And then we have events, right? And then finally we have a retail component. And we touched on this before, but when you build a hotel and when you're asking an owner to fund it, it's based on those 5 key pillars. And again, the term ancillary semantics, whatever you want to use it, but they're revenue centers, right? They're centers of operational excellence, and often they have a skill set that's involved with them. And the financial models are built pillars, right? Obviously, depending on the location, some are more important than others, and there are certain circumstances where rooms are not the most important product, and I think we often forget that in our industry. So, step one is the fundamental sellability of the perishable inventory, because as we all know in our industry, we've got today to sell it. The retail is the outlier of that, where it has a longer shelf life. But so most of our product has to be sold today. How do we bring the selling of that product to life at every opportunity that we have it, which is at the initial opportunity for all of it, right? And then speaking to the particular topic we're talking about here of the ongoing sales cycle where we add to what we were able to capture on the first instance. So KPIs in those various different business functions are very structured for the industry. They all have their own KPIs, and then I think the thing that's picked up in this particular nature is, well, what were we able to do over and above the initial revenue capture? But then the question becomes, in the modern world, what is the initial revenue capture now? Because the sales process keeps continuing. I'm sure Jason has capability around that. But first and foremost, it's about the selling of all of the perishable inventory. And I'm sure that this is something that Sarah and her extended team are focused on every single day, because if they're not staying on property, they're going off property, and you miss out. And that's the foundation of it all.
Jason, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's pretty simple, right? I mean, it's what's measured is managed. And so, I think that as sophisticated as our, I would say our pricing and our decisions engines are, one of the significant facilities we bring is our ability to measure what we think matters. And so, like, as we've discussed here, like, what's important? Yes, revenue generation as it's correlated to guest engagement. So, for instance, if a hotelier, like the types of things that we measure, that I believe if you don't, I think hoteliers are in trouble if they can't tell you, like, how many offers were made to a guest, how many of your agents actually made offers that weren't accepted, what room categories are resonating most greatly with the guest, what's the average price that the guest is willing to pay, right? You see the common thread here is, yes, the revenue, but again, it's all centric on guest interaction, guest engagement. And if you can't measure that, you don't know that, clearly you can't manage your business correctly, right? As far as sort of what the right strategies are around ancillaries and how do you best serve guests, and again, how do you generate the most revenue? So clearly, it's something we focus on very seriously, is measuring the right things and then getting that information quickly into the hands of who matters to make decisions around it.
Great. Guys, we have the last 5 minutes, so I'm going to ask you a tough one. Of course, whenever it comes to automation, we need to face the harsh truth, and that is the fact that we need to connect to PMSs. And the problem is that, especially here in Europe, many properties are still working with like Mickey Mouse companies and legacy PMSs. It's impossible to integrate and so forth. And I remember I wrote something for Hospitality Net a few years ago, and I said something in the line of PMS integration is the biggest taboo in travel because nobody wants to talk about it, right? And because it's for some PMSs, integrating systems is, let's face it, it's a revenue stream. They're making money out of integrations. Some PMSs, they're just do not have the capability of doing so, like tech capability of doing so. So it's very, it's a very taboo kind of topic. So I will ask you this last question, and again, feel free not to answer if you don't feel like it, because I know it's a little controversial. But Jason, what is your take on PMS's integration with software, and do you think, most importantly, that this can be a technology adoption blocker for some properties?
Well, there's a lot there that you just did. Let me kind of.
Yeah, sorry, I just kept it for last.
Clearly, to deliver the level of service and the level of efficiency and automation that we do, you have to have a PMS integration. It was one of the theses for the Oracle acquisition, the Oracle Hospitality acquisition of Nor1, right? Is that we can inherently or natively embed what we do directly into Opera Cloud and into the PMS. Now, our relationship with Barstool is a really good example, though. I would say that we built our solution to be PMS agnostic. Part of our relationship is that, yes, they use Opera and we integrate obviously directly into that, but they have another PMS that they use that is, I wouldn't say proprietary, but it's a smaller company that they have actually customized that solution for Barstool, and we've integrated with that as well, right? Just to make sure that we can serve every single Barcelona hotel with the same level of efficiency. Yeah, I think, I don't know that it's a taboo topic. I mean, yeah, it's clearly a giant friction point that we've all dealt with, and especially when you talk about legacy technology. I think what you'll continue to see is what Oracle Hospitality adopted was this, our OHIP platform, which is just a state-of-the-art facility to allow very easy and inexpensive, basically without commercials, direct integration into the PMS. As that continues to take hold, I think the tabooness, if that's the right word, or this friction, it will continue to reduce into a point where we have kind of this seamless ecosystem where we can all easily access information from wherever it's needed in order to leverage it for whatever our application is. So
yeah, I think
progress.
Look, I don't mind being controversial here because it's one of my bugbear topics. There's this view in our industry that apparently the connecting of one piece of technology to another should be free. I used to work for Fidelity and Micros. We had more interfaces than anyone else in the industry, which is why the product got bought. It takes an immense amount of energy and technical capability between the companies to build this. And if you're sitting out there thinking that this should be free, the question I would ask is, well, would you rather do it manually? Because that's the difference, right? So you don't have to have interfaces for anything, but you can do it manually. So if there isn't a value on replacing manual effort with technical effort, and the interfaces aren't expensive anyway. I mean, interface is like $2,000, for a license, $2,000 a year. I mean, seriously, work that out at the cost of labor. It's nothing, So this discussion, I think, is just a misnomer. We're never going to reach the stage where we have a single platform for our industry, and connectivity between systems will always be required because industry demands it. And we need to be mature enough as an industry to understand that, and understand that there's work involved to deliver that, and not, think that everyone should be out there doing this for free. It's just, it's the wrong thinking. I'll just leave it there.
Well, and I do agree with you, but don't you think that the fact that we still have a lot of systems, and again, in the US is slightly different, but in Europe, I can tell you, it's very, it's a hot topic because we got like a crazy fragmentation of the market, like hundreds, if not thousands, of small PMSs. Like a client of mine has a PMS with two clients. It's my client and another client. And you understand that PMS will probably not be able to survive in the next few years, right? So my question is, should a hotel, pay $10K to integrate Nord1 to, this Mickey Mouse PMS built locally, or should it just change PMS?
Well, no one's giving away hotel rooms for free. In fact, they're going very well at the moment, right? Post-COVID with revenge travel. And you're right, Simone. Companies, it's a commercial decision. And in the same way that hotel companies and hotels make commercial decisions, technology companies have to make commercial decisions too. And it doesn't pencil out, So, what we are seeing is more and more of the middle layer of connectivity between multiple systems coming into the industry, and that will continue in the future because it comes directly from other industries that have done it well before us. But even for them, it's still hard. It's hard getting two different things to talk to each other, and two different ways of thinking. It's like you and I disagreeing on a topic. It's hard to find the common ground, and that's really what interfacing. It's not integration; it's interfacing. It always has been, and it always will be. Will continue to be a challenge for us just generally, because unless we can get a single blob of technology that does it all, we've got to connect. And if you don't connect, it doesn't work. So to me, it solves, it answers its own question.
Okay, Sarah, the last line to you. So you went through all this integration, and of course, with Oracle that was native, but Jason said something about custom PMS. What was that? How was that experience like integrating Nord1 to this PMS?
Oh, well, I'm not the engineer that did the integration, but what
Luckily.
they told me, because maybe you can be a small PMS or small company, but very flexible and very, and this company that is a Mallorquin company from the island, um, they integrated quite easy with Norone because they wanted to develop a better PMS for the industry. So it is the PMS that, or the company that doesn't go that way, they will
Yeah,
disappear, as you said.
it's a
Sorry,
cultural
I think the
problem.
boats
Okay.
the boats are leaving right now. Sorry for the noise.
No, it's quite musical. No problem.
So
Yes, I don't know
so
what's
Um,
happening right
sailing
now.
off into the Mediterranean. Terrible.
okay, guys. Well, so we're running out of time. Just Jason, what is the best way to get in touch with you if somebody wants to know more about Nor1?
Yeah, I mean, just again, Oracle Hospitality. You could just Google that or go to the Oracle website.
No, that will not be hard.
Yeah, I'm happy to give you my phone number.
Mark?
www.travatech.com. You'll find me. So,
And Sarah?
Barcelo.com or barceloexperience.com too.
Okay.
there you go.
Guys, thank you so much for your time. This was a very interesting conversation. We could have talked for another hour or even more. Always interesting to hear people, experts on the topic, and hear from different angles. So this was very very interesting for me as well. Thank you so much, and we'll meet again for episode 4 very soon. Thank you and bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye.
Good luck.